So as I make the presentations, if you want, you might want to hold the questions off because sometimes the people online may not get the same impact, but make a note of it. Because the handout that I gave you, one of it is, on one side, it's a word search, but on the other side, use it for notes. Because those notes might help you identify those words and start to make more sense. So I was a captive agent with Humana for about 11 years. In about 3 years, I went independent and created Seymour Insurance Services. And it's about 3 other agents to include my husband. So my husband always says that I'm a terrible boss because I'm nonstop. Next slide. Just so I can get the use of this car that I'm driving. Which button do I need to?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So these are some of the things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is Social Security, a little historical overview, and many of you probably have heard SSA, SSI. Sometimes they get confused, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to go over the latest changes to Social Security as it applies to 2025, and we're going to look at the Social Security statement. Next slide. Yes. Okay, so what is Social Security? Many of us became acquainted with Social Security when we received our first job. Okay, I always like to say this, date myself. When I got my first job, I was told I was going to make $2.10 an hour. Now, back in the day, you all remember that it was $1.65 for years that she was getting paid an hour. But when I started, it was $2.10, and I was feeling pretty good. $2.10, and I said, if I work, let me see, 20 hours a week, okay, I'm good. I got my first check, and I said, what? No, wait, there's a problem. They said I was going to get more money than this. Well, I got my first introduction to FICA. At the time, FICA was not my friend. I didn't understand why FICA had to partner with me because partner was robbing me of my money. But as I matured and got a better understanding, right now FICA is your friend. As you get older, you start to embrace FICA. So FICA is a payroll deduction. And it goes to 2 areas. It goes to Social Security, and it also goes to Medicare. And through that, it creates the Social Security. Now, Social Security serves a lot of purposes. First of all, it's retirement. Okay. Secondly, it also helps if one becomes disabled at a certain age, earlier than their retirement age. If you don't pay into Social Security, many people have sustained injuries or illnesses where they're declared permanently disabled. Guess what? If they hadn't met FICA, they wouldn't have Social Security. At that case, if you receive it before your retirement, it's called Social Security Disability Income, SSDI. Okay, so those are for individuals who are sick or become injured. And then you also have the situation where you have survivors, children who have lost their parents or have lost a loved one and they have one parent. If the deceased paid into Social Security, that triggers survivors' benefits. There's a lot of children that have been raised through survivors' benefits because one of their parents died early. Okay.
Sorry, you said that was what? Which one was
Survivors. Okay, so when I hear that there's someone that has lost a parent and you have one parent left, it makes my heart say, I hope that they paid into Social Security, because that provides some source of income. So when you look at, Social Security is a big deal. And then the other portion that goes into FICA is Medicare, okay? When you are employed, your employer pays a portion, 50% of your FICA. If you're self-employed, you have to pay 100%. So that's why a lot of self-employed people really don't like paying taxes, because it's called self-employed taxes. So they pay much more into it, but on the flip side, when they do their tax returns at the end of the year, they can claim 50% of what they pay into FICA. Next slide. Yeah. So let's talk about the historical perspective of FICA. With FICA, it just didn't happen. For everything that occurs within the United States, there is some motivating factor for that to happen. So FICA first came out in, the Social Security Act was passed in 1935. So do you know what happened before that? What happened is there was a lot of individuals that went off and fought into the war. And when they came back home, or maybe they didn't come back home, but they left family members, okay, there was no source of support for them. So in 1935, they enacted the Social Security Act. And then in 1950, they added the children and spouse welfare. That's what you're talking about, the survivor's benefits. So in 1965, there was something that really occurred that has made a big difference. President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed into effect Medicare. And Medicare was designed to be health insurance for the senior population. Without Lyndon Baines Johnson, many of us seniors would be without affordable health insurance. Okay, so in 77, they changed the benefit formula, lowering the retirement age to 62. And then in 1983 is when a lot of the changes occurred in the Social Security industry. First of all, let's say, for instance, when you retire and you have Social Security, maybe you retire, I'm just going to say, with $2,000. If that $2,000 stayed for the remainder of your life, what would happen? Be some serious survival issues. So in that legislation, COLA, and that's not a Coca-Cola, but that means cost of living. So every year, if there is inflation, your Social Security receives an increase. So that was put into law. There were also some other changes that occurred. And some folks is not going to like this, but there's been some changes to this. They also implemented what they call WIP, which is windfall elimination provision, and the government pension offset. All of these activities was created to sustain the individuals that's on Social Security and at the same time to preserve what they call the trust fund. So people who work in governmental agencies also have what they call a pension. Some of them also work in private industry. So when you have a pension from a governmental agency, many of them do not pay into taxes. They don't pay FICA. They don't meet FICA. So because they don't meet FICA, they are not contributing. But in the past, they might have paid into Social Security. There is a magic number in Social Security. It's called 40 quarters. You might hear, do you have your 40 quarters? So when you have your 40 quarters, that means that you're entitled to get Social Security benefits and Medicare. So you might have someone who spent 10, 15 years in private industry and paid into Medicare, and then they decided to become a civil servant. You're looking at teachers, police officers, government employees that was employed before 1983. They did not pay into Social Security. So when those individuals are ready to retire, well, they have their 40 quarters with Social Security, and they also have their pension. So with this act that was created in 1983, it was said that, wait a minute, because you didn't pay as much as that person in Social Security, you're going to take a hit. So it's a factor that they use to reduce the Social Security that someone would receive if they receive a pension at all. Okay. It was even worse for a surviving spouse. They weren't whipped. They were GPO, government pension offset. So if they received, so if they were to receive the pension, if they had a pension and they were going after their spouse's Social Security, they could reduce it by 2/3. So there's more to come with that. I just want that to resonate. And I'm sure Sharon's been boiling over that. We often have conversations about that, but help is on the way.
Yes. Did you know that they're trying to implement something where they may give us $150?
I'm gonna talk about that. Okay, and they also increased the retirement age. When Social Security was started, it was 62 was the earliest, and then at 65, you would get Medicare and Social Security. But as of, if you were born 1953 or later, what they did is add 2 months to every year to extend the full retirement age to 67. Okay, so if you're born after 1960, your full retirement age is 67. I'm not afraid. My full retirement age is 66 in 6 months. That doesn't mean that I couldn't collect Social Security, but if I collected my Social Security before 66 in 6 months, it would be reduced. Okay, so it's incentivizing people to work past the initial retirement age of 62. So you're incentivized to go to your full retirement age. Now, there is discussions because the trust fund is going to run out in 2035 to make some changes to that. Okay, next slide. So we've already talked about the WIP and the GPO, that impact, but here's the news. Okay. Just this past week, there was hearings to eliminate the WIP and the GPO. And it's called the Social Security Fairness Act. Hello. But ironically, there's not a whole lot of people that are impacted by that. And I think wisdom is attempting to prevail that, what type of an impact will this have if we eliminated that altogether? So just to give you an idea, it's a bipartisan bill that was written by Representative Garrett Gray, a Republican, and Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat. So the bill passed the House. If you're familiar with the structure of Congress, it's the House and the Senate, okay? So the House is the lower legislative body. And then when the House proposed a bill, it goes to the Senate. So both houses have to pass the bill. So it has passed in one house. One house might say no. If that happens, it's pretty much dead, okay? Or the upper house might say to make these changes, it has to be sent back to the lower. So right now, it's at least on the tennis court. It's being batted back between the two houses. But I think personally, at some point, it's going to pass. The problem is they don't know what the impact is going to be on Social Security. When you receive Social Security, it is all based upon your total earnings, which I'm going to go over a little bit more, and there's a factor that is used to determine what your payout is. And because there's been some controversies about this is, well, they didn't pay into it as long as someone who's been in private industry like myself all those years. So they have to come up with a form. They have a formula now that is really brutal. In fact, with the windfall elimination, they can eliminate up to $587. That can be that reduces their Social Security. So someone who is entitled to $1,500, they come out with a little more than $1,000. So that's a big hit. So that's what they're trying to say. Give me my money. More than that. And then for their surviving spouse, they can lose up to 2/3 of that. So $3,000 could be reduced to $1,000. So that's why you see a lot of widows or widowers are really hurting because a good chunk of the household money has been lost through these regulations. I was surprised to find out the individuals that are impacted by WIP is 2.1 million. When you look at the entire population of the United States, that is very small. And then for their survivors, it's 745,679. So you're looking at a little under 3 million people who are impacted by these laws. And I know this is a hot topic. I'm going to field questions right now before I transition. Go ahead.
Mine is just a comment, they cut me by $400.
Could have gotten you 50, you got away with it.
We can't hear the question.
Okay.
The comment from someone in the room is that they were cut by $400.
Next page. So there's always a question of, I paid my taxes in retirement. Do I have to pay more taxes? Social Security benefits are taxable.
Yes.
Not at the same rate, but there are taxable. And someone who's now in the club, I start thinking, is this fair? Why should I have to pay that? But then again, when Social Security was first created, there was 47 people working for every person that was collecting Social Security. So you think while you're paying into FICA, it goes into an account saved for you? No. It feeds the people who are currently on Social Security. And anything that's left went into the trust fund. Okay, so right now, we have 3 people working for everyone that is collecting. So that gives you some indication as to why we are where we are today. Okay, so you have people that's retiring. You have people that are ill before retirement age. And then you have the survivors. Social Security takes a big hit. So that's when I said, well, okay, I understand. But it is not taxed at the same rate. So if someone as an individual collects total of $25,000, they are exempt from paying taxes on Social Security. If you have a couple, $32,000 first is exempt from paying taxes. After that, they can claim up to 50% in taxes on your Social Security. But without that, the trust fund would grow faster. The trust fund is said to be there till 2035.
What happens after 2035?
Your question is very timely. That's the next slide. Okay, it does not mean that we won't receive Social Security. What it means is that it's going to be reduced anywhere from 75 to 80% unless Congress do something. Okay. But there lies the problem. And if we send our elected officials to DC to do something and not do nothing, this is something that should be teed up. I'm not getting political because it impacts everybody. But when you listen to everything that was said during this season, no one said, we're going to come up with an aggressive plan to save Medicare or Social. I kept listening and listening. All I can hear is that we're not going to touch it. Okay, but you gotta do something. So they're not going to touch it. So that is an area as constituents that we need to be looking at. What are you going to do? Because as America grades, this is a problem. In 2035, I like my COLA annually, and I like to live out the mailbox because I put something in and I want to get something out. I mean, that's the way we are. We didn't have a choice, but since we're into the system, we have certain expectations. Okay. And then when 2035 happens, and all of a sudden, well, you're going to still get it, but it could be a reduction. What they're saying is anywhere they can pay up to 80% of what you're getting. I don't think it's going to affect the individuals that's on it now, but it's the future generation that they're going to have to come up with. And there's things that they can do, but they probably choose not to do. So this diagram just kind of explains 2034 and the percentage that it's going to pay. But keep in mind, it's not going to go away. It's just the percentage of the payout is in jeopardy right now. Next slide.
I just have a question, a follow-up question to that. So if they're talking about cutting 80%, who can live off of the, I mean, enough to live off of it?
Follow-up question, if they are cutting 80%,
If they're cutting, if the forecast is that they're gonna cut 80% of the money, who can live off of the remainder? I mean, it's hard to live off of social security.
Okay, so my question is, if the forecast is that they're gonna cut 80% in 2035, who can live off of the remaining amount of money that they're gonna be receiving? Because Social Security, people are struggling to live off of it right now, and they're getting all of their benefits. So I don't understand.
You're absolutely correct in your concerns, but there's fixes that can take place. Okay, there's a slide that I'm gonna go through, but I'm gonna just share this with you. Individuals who are earn a high amount of money, after a certain point during the year, they stop paying into Social Security. Okay, I believe this year, and I'm gonna have a slide to go really into it,
It's about
$68,000. So if you make over $168,000, you stop paying Social Security.
You still pay Medicare,
But you don't pay
into Social Security.
So those high orders, they stop paying. I'll give you a good example. In another life,
I was,
in charge of Security Pacific employee loans. So I would make the loans to all of the senior executives. And what I was surprised, that after they got their annual bonuses, they had paid into Social Security for the rest of it. By the first quarter of the year, they were done. If they continued to make it, regardless of what income they're, they know,
but
they don't want to make those individuals angry, because that's an entitlement that they're used to have.
But
Yeah, it's a,
they just don't want to do it. So it's not just
the upper 2%, it goes much lower. There's a lot of people out there that makes much more than that dollar amount, and they're getting away with it.
And those people that make a lot of money, they can draw Social Security, so they need to eliminate that too. If they can draw it, they don't need it, but they can draw it.
Yeah, they say they don't need it,
Yeah, but you know, they're the.
but they paid into it.
The question was, for the people who make a lot of money, they still can draw Social Security, and the answer was yes.
Sorry, one last question.
What is Varnessa says?
What steps can we take right now, or what steps should we be taking right now to make a difference?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I'm not gonna create a lot of rebels, but I'm gonna tell you this. When you send people to Washington,
Your representative.
when they come out in the field and they talk, this should be a
topic of
discussion. Because you can't do anybody, Newsom can't do anything,
Okay, your
state
state
folks can't. It's your,
because this is
the federal matter. So if we can get like Maxine Waters
and she could lobby in your behalf. I mean, your representatives are very powerful. To give you an example.
when I applied for my Social Security the first time, I was like a dog on the internet. Has it been approved? It showed my application pending.
And I was waiting for my
First payout, I said, wait a minute. I got on
the phone
online
and I sent
a constituent request to my congressperson, which is Nanette Berrigan. She
a fighter. She
jumped right on it. I got my check when I was due. And she had someone from her office and called, you should be getting your check. So that's how powerful your representative is.
Do not
Have federal issues and not address them, that's what they are champions. You elect those people to battle for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't need the mic.
Yes, you do, because they can't hear you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my voice carried. I
A
applied.
client who is receiving Social Security, the Social Security is not enough.
In here.
Excuse me?
Yeah, they can't hear you.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So they want to go back to work. So how would this impact their Social Security? So they, as I said, they aren't receiving enough that they can, sustain themselves. They accepted the Social Security at the age of 68 because they needed the additional support, but they find that they can't live on that. So the bottom line question is that if they return back to work with their, if you know this, with their Social Security pause, how would that work? Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, and this is something that is very confusing. If you receive Social Security before your full retirement age, you are penalized or disincentive to do that. And I'm gonna go over a slide to say that. If you reach your full retirement age, you can make as much money as you want and still collect Social Security. It's gonna put you in a higher tax bracket. More of your Social Security will be taxed, but it's not going to be the penalty that some people are afraid of. So they tell you, once you hit your full retirement age, you get everything. So if they collected that 68, I would take it that their full retirement age was 66 and something. So what happened is, when you delay getting your Social Security at your full retirement age, you get what they call delayed credits. And you get delayed credits till the age of 70, okay? So technically, you get 8% per year. So if she waited, I'm just gonna say hypothetically, maybe she waited 2 years, so it is higher than what she would have got. Okay, so let's say, for instance, she go back to work and she works and she's making a decent income. What's gonna happen is her Social Security may go up, because your Social Security is based upon the highest 35 years of work. So let's say, for instance, in that calculation, she might have had a year where she made 25,000, 26,000. Now she has a job that she's making 40,000, maybe. Those lower years are going to be replaced by the higher years. So they're going to recalculate her Social Security benefit. So it might pay off like that, okay? Another thing, so we might as well just throw this away. We're gonna just have a conversation, okay? Okay, another thing that could take, let's say, for instance, I decided maybe for some reason I lost my job, I have to get some income coming in, and at 65, I start collecting my Social Security. That's before my full retirement age. So all of a sudden, 6 months into collecting my Social Security, I got this dream job. Oh, great, I don't need to have the Social Security. So what do? There's such a rule, it's called a 12-month do-over. You can stop it, pay the money back, and it's like you never took it, okay? 12 months, 13 months, game over. You can suspend it, but you can't do it over, okay?
And you're saying.
And there is no, so once you collect, say between the ages of 68 and 70 being the maximum, that if you decide to go back and work, that you can, that there's no limit in terms of the income that you are now drawing. So are you also saying that it wouldn't be taxable?
Well, it's taxed because if you earn a certain amount, say as an individual, if you earn 25,000 or more, then your social security is subject to a different tax structure. It's not the same as earned income. It's a little lower, but it will be taxed. But in that individual situation, it might be to her advantage. And knowing that, you know, the trust fund has its set of issues, I would encourage anyone, save as much as you can, so if something happens and there's some disruption, you'll still have something to fall back on.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to clarify something. Is it true in terms of if you're working for a government agency, that if you're still working, that you should, once you become eligible at 66 and 6 months, right?
Depending upon your age. I'll give my age. I was born in 1957. So I knew that my full retirement age is 66 and 6 months. I
Okay.
became eligible this past January.
Okay, so that is the case with this person, 66 and 6 months. So what they were told is that they should take their money because they will get the full amount even when working, but you're saying it'll be taxed, both will be taxed? The
Yeah.
Social Security and I know the regular pay will.
Yes, I'm still working and I know that I'm gonna be paying taxes on my social security.
Okay,
Varnessa, just tell them that I took social security, just let them know. I took social security, I'm still working, and they tax me like crazy. Every year, I was RSS money. Yeah. And nobody told me that when I went, you know, that was before Varnessa came into our lives. And I did not know that, you know, because they would always say, yeah, you draw money, you can work as, you know, make as much as you want. Never tell you that you're gonna get taxed on that.
You can also have them put their hands on your social security and they can hold it back. You can pay your taxes ahead of time with social security.
Okay, I have a question and a comment. If you are receiving Social Security, let's say for at least 5 years, but then you're gonna become disabled, you're gonna, you know, have a diagnosis of something, can you resubmit for like a disability, Social Security, get more money?
No, that case is settled. When you start drawing, you can't renegotiate a contract and you can.
Okay. I have one more comment. If this thing is gonna be, impacted by 2035, possibly, I just wanna make this comment as Black folks. We're always looking to the government. But we need to take some responsibility ourselves. I'm thinking of maybe paying off our mortgage possibly sooner. Paying off our mortgage. Give us some money per month. Do you understand what I'm going, Varnessa? And forget that it's, you got that write-off, you need the write-off. My tax guy, God bless his soul. He said, Sharon, forget that. You're paying it anyway, you're paying money. You're paying for the mortgage. So you know what I'm saying. You're paying for a little write-off. So I think, because I know our people well, start now. We got our sister here who has informed us. Let's try and pay off our mortgage. See, Black folks, we always behind the 8 ball. Stop spending so much. Hello?
Well, and I'm gonna also say this, I can't tell you that I'm the biggest fan of it, but there is a lot of individuals who have paid off their homes. Their income is low. I'm not a fan, but a reverse mortgage sometimes help an individual stay in that home. Especially if there's deferred maintenance. The proceeds that you receive from a reverse mortgage is not taxable. Like I said, I'm not a fan, but sometimes stay in the home and address the deferred maintenance is necessary.
Let me, excuse me, let me make a comment on that. You know, I work at Wilshire Escrow part-time. And when you get ready to pay off a reverse mortgage, the interest is exorbitant. Then, no, we can't blame nobody. The interest is exorbitant. Then if you're trying to leave it to the kids, they're not gonna be able to do it. They need to be taught and instructed on the value of how hard you work for this property. All they care about is they wanna sell. You know, they're gonna get some money. No. So I'm not, if you got some intelligent children, if you have some intelligent children, then that's one thing. But I personally, having been in real estate over about 30 years or more, I am not for the reverse mortgage.
I said I wasn't a
I
fan.
heard you. I heard you.
But let me just share this with you. And in another life, I actually worked for Fannie Mae.
Okay, all right, I know about Fannie Mae.
And I was actually a product manager of the reverse mortgage. I didn't like it then. It was hypocritical. I was a product manager. But the one thing that needs to take place with the reverse mortgage is education. You cannot get a reverse mortgage without going through education, and you have to bring family members in. So they need to understand
That is your legacy.
that is being pledged. And you gotta have
a takeout plan.
Let me make a comment on that, please. What you need in your life is a,
Mad.
yeah, you do, because she,
fixed all my property. She made them beautiful. And we did that prior to.
okay. But I, is this helpful or not? Is it helpful or not? Okay. Start working on your properties at an early age to get the repairs. That's what I retired.
I got it.
And you had 50-some windows. So do that, because
I've been around seniors for a long time, and you'll see them at about
85 or 90, and the property is all raggedy. because they don't have the money and they didn't get the work done. So these are some things that I just wanted to share with you, and I hope it was helpful and beneficial.
It was. Thank you, sister. Thank you. I do want to say for all of us, Ms. Varnessa has about 10 more slides, and we're at 12:05. And so I want to allow her time to get through the slides. Maybe go ahead and use that paper she gave you to write down your questions, and then we'll do questions at the end. Some people, we're all caregivers, some people have to leave at 1 o'clock, and I want them to be able to hear everything Ms. Varnessa has to say. Is that okay? And then we'll do questions at the end.
Okay, I'd like to share this slide because sometimes terminology confused. Someone might say, well, I received SSA. They'll say, I received SSI. There is a difference, okay? SSI is what you receive when you pay into FICA. That's your retirement. So, and that could be even SSDI. That is coming from the Social Security Trust Fund. SSI is supplemental. That helps individuals who have disability or they're blind, and when they have illnesses, they receive this because they did not pay into Social Security. So there is a different structure. If you have an individual that has a Medicare card and not necessarily a Medicare card after the age of 65, there is some financial reasons behind that. Okay. I meet with a lot of people and they say they have Social Security, and then when I look, it is SSI. And folks on SSI typically have Medicare. Okay, if someone was born and they never had the opportunity to work for one reason or another, this is the government's way of paying them some sort of supplement. So they don't have the same requirements to receive that, but normally these individuals have some sort of illness and they cannot work, so they get supplement. They will never have the income that the individual who have Social Security. So there is a slide I'm not going to go through, but I want you to understand the difference, okay? Now, this is a fact sheet. This comes out every year, and I'd like to share this with you. Just to give you an idea of the changes. So it shows what a self-employed person is paying for 2024 and 2025. Now, when we think about how can we replenish the trust fund, it's gonna hurt. But if you pay more percentage out of your income into Social Security, that is one of the ways that you can replenish the trust. But no one wants, you're not popular when you talk about increasing taxes. I don't want to get political, but when I heard no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips, I said, there goes the trust fund. Yeah. Sooner than later. So we have to be smart about what we're hearing and what actually makes financial sense. Okay, the other area that I wanted to point out is it shows
And this is another
area that for 2024, the maximum
income that paid
in the Social Security
is $168,000.
68,000
It's going up next
year to 176,000. Now, what happens to the people who make over $200,000? They don't pay any more into Social Security once they hit that benchmark.
during the year.
Okay, a question was brought up about, if you collect Social Security before your full retirement age, this is the disincentive. So what they're saying is, if you start collecting your Social Security, let's say at 62 or 63, for 2024, the maximum income you can receive is 22,320. So what happens is an individual could make that amount of money and they can still receive their Social Security. If they go over that, what it is saying is that for every $2 they make, $1 is going to be taxed, okay? That amount goes up next year to 23,400 that you can make, okay? That is imposed on an individual until they hit their full retirement age, okay? I always like to explain that because I had someone who decided they were going to start taking their Social Security. When they went to the Social Security office, they were told, you can't work at all, or you can't get your Social Security. When I listened to what she was told, I said, that is incorrect. You could make
Up to this dollar amount.
amount, and when you look at maybe the amount you have to pay back is still better than not collecting it. Because sometimes people find themselves in a situation they have to do.
Everybody's situation is different. You can't criticize them.
It's what makes sense for them. And when I heard she was told,
that, I said,
you were told incorrectly.
those people that are in a position,
They don't advise, they're not gonna advise, but they need to respond appropriately. So if you think you're going
to the Social Security office
and someone's going to advise you, advisors can be sued. They're not going to be sued. You ask them a question, they're supposed to give you the honest answer. They have a book, I think it's called the Red Book. All the answers is in that book.
we have access to that book
As well. So if you're not certain or you're not comfortable with the response, you can challenge them, and she should have challenged them, but I don't think she is. Now, the year that you become eligible for your full retirement age, the amount that you can earn goes up. So it's going up from 2024 is 59,520 to 62,160 in 2025. I really encourage everyone, if you want the fact sheet, I can send this to Kim and everybody can get a copy of it. Because I can go through it, but this is very important when you look at, what am I entitled to? What am I up against? So
we spoke
about
about
someone who have SSI. If someone have SSI, this is almost the poorest of the poor, and by nature, they're just not going to get ahead. So, as individuals, in 2024, 943
is going up to
967. That's because of the COLA increase. How much is the COLA for this year? 2.5%. Okay, at least we're getting something. And so they are sharing now. A couple, $1,415. So this is why when you have individuals who have SSI and two people fall in love, they can't get married because they're,
penalized to get married.
so as an individual, they would make not, but as a couple, 150. So that's why you see
Living
together,
together.
because it doesn't financially make sense. Okay, so I'm going to, leave this
For your review.
I'm not gonna go over all of it, because I wanna hit some other things, okay? You can go into, that's it. Just a show of hands, how many of you in here have actually created a profile on mysocialsecurity.gov? All right. If you can, this was a homework last year, I'm gonna encourage you to do it again. Why? We're all concerned about identity theft. Okay, now, if someone gets your social security number and knows enough about you, they can go online and create a profile under your social security. So they have all of your business, and you try to go on now, all of a sudden they say, you've done this, That's why it's important, even if you do nothing, is to create a presence there. Okay. Another thing, you get your award letter. If you are a Social Security beneficiary, that award letter comes out every year. You should be receiving one sometime during the month of December. What that award letter says is that
You are gonna be receiving
this and as a benefit. And in addition to that, you're going
to pay for your
Part B premium if you're on Medicare, and it shows the netted amount. Okay, so I can't say how many people get that and they don't even open it. It's like, oh, no, you gotta open that. Put that away safely, because let's say, for instance, I mean, you're old, but you're still actively engaged, and you might wanna, let's say you wanna buy a car. Okay? They're gonna say, what's your source of income? Well, I get Social Security. Guess what they're gonna ask? I need to see that award letter. But here's my main statement, no, we need the award letter. So what do? You go stand in line at Social Security to get an award letter. Waste of time. If you set this profile up, at any time you can pull your award letter, you can see how much you're being paid. It's important. Let that be your New Year's resolution. I am going to find my way to my socialsecurity.gov. Now, every time I log into that, it's a double protection. I get an email saying, hey, did you go into the system? Okay. Now, if someone has your business and they're in there, they're having fun, and you don't even know it. There's a party going on in your behalf. So it's important that you do that. Okay. I used to hang out at the Social Security because a lot of people, when they go to Social Security, they have questions about Medicare. I answered those questions. And I said, why are you like, I didn't get my award letter? I said to myself, oh my God, 2 or 3 hours wasted in your life. And then they don't give it to you, we'll mail it to you. You call up for it, we'll mail it to you. So you're trying to buy this hot item and you gotta prove your income. You have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to get that award letter. Okay. But now that it's December, you're gonna be getting that award letter. Put it someplace safely, because you need to reflect back on that throughout the year. Okay? Now, if you have not retired and accepting Social Security, this is what I encourage, and I will make myself available. I have access to a system that if you go into Social Security, you have to be able to go into the site. You can download a document. It's all encrypted. It doesn't make sense. And if you engage with me, I will generate a report to show you what your social security payout will be at certain tiers. And it would also show what they call your PIA, that is, the amount that you're going to be paid out. That is your, premium, I can't think of the name right now, but that is what your payout will be. It is based upon your 35 years of service, and I will explain it to you when I print out this document. Because if you go to online, so it does give you your printout, but what they've done, they've encapsulated it only in 10-year increments. I don't know why, back in the day, they used to have every year spelled out, you know.
You're taking that mic.
I'm sorry.
Further away.
It used to break down every year that you worked. In my case, I was still in high school, and it showed the little tiny amount that I made and what I was making when I stopped paying into the system. But now it goes in 10-year tranches, okay? So if you need to find that out, you want to get the full report, and you can do that by going into the system. So once I get that, I can generate this report, and it's very helpful.
There's a question that came up, Ms. Varnessa. What's the website to go for it?
It's called mysocialsecurity.gov.
For some reason, I'm not seeing the chat. I just saw it pop up on the TV. So if you have anything in the chat, I'll read it at the end when I stop sharing my screen. Just want you to know I'm not ignoring you.
So when you pull your statement, this is just a generalized statement what you would get from mysocialsecurity.gov. I remember when I was much younger, they used to mail out your social security statement. I was young and dumb, and I just throw it in the drawer. It's like, I don't know. But as I got older, I realized the value of that document, and then they stopped mailing it out. Around about 2008, when we hit the Great Recession, they cut that out. So this is the way to drive everybody to the website. Okay, this is something that's really near and dear to me, is accessing healthcare. And today I don't understand why we have to wait till we turn 65 to have access to good healthcare, because when you're young, you really need to have something like Medicare, but they make you wait and pay dearly. So right now, people, if you're under 65, there's a couple ways that a lot of people get their health care. Most people work for employers they absolutely hate because of the health care. I heard people say, I'm only working for this benefit and to provide health care to my family. So that's through the employer. There's also private. A lot of people who are self-employed, they do not have health care. They have to buy it on the market. They go straight to Blue Shield, Kaiser, just to name a few that offers it, because there's not a lot of options right now for healthcare insurance. And they pay dearly. The other option, and it's available right now, is through Cover California, is the Affordable Care Act. Now, this is a way, if you're an individual who do not have health care coverage, you can go through Cover California. I think it's a great program. If your income is within a certain guideline, it might automatically throw you into Medi-Cal, because a lot of people, I take their applications and it says Medi-Cal eligible. So they go straight to Medi-Cal. Cover will do this. If their income is above Medi-Cal, some individuals get steep subsidies from the state. A lot of people choose not to because in order to go through Cover California, you have to provide 3 documents. You have to provide your social security number, your driver's license or proof of citizenship, and proof of income. And that is what determines your subsidy. Now, prior to what is also affectionately known Obamacare, health insurance would be able to decline you because of pre-existing conditions. That is no longer the case. I've had people say, well, I have this disease. I can't ask you about your health. I can ask you about your income because the income is what dictates your subsidy. When you become 65 years or older, it's Medicare. If I had someone who didn't pay into Medicare and they come to me for health insurance and I try to put them through cover say no, they're fine. So it's very important as individuals, if you're self-employed, to pay self-employment taxes or get a job where you're gonna make your 40/40. Otherwise, there's no health insurance for someone over the age of 65. They'll be going to county facilities for healthcare. And just out of a little idea, so in the industry, there's HMOs, there's PPOs, and then there's the VA. The same applies with Medicare. A lot of people, when they get their Medicare card, they say, I don't want an HMO, I don't want a PPO, I just want to use my straight Medicare. That is an option. It's very affordable because you have co-pays, you have deductibles, and there's no limit to what you could pay. You can try getting a Medicare supplement that offsets it. And the reason why I talk about Medicare, because we talked about FICA. Remember, FICA goes to Social Security and FICA goes to Medicare. This is your pot of gold at the rainbow. It's Social Security and Medicare. Trust me, folks, without those two, most of us will not exist. Okay. So when I see these cards here, this is the Medi-Cal card. This tells me that this individual have low income or they have SSI. So this is what you see with SSI Medi-Cal cards. Okay, this is through the state of California. And LA Care is a big partner with Medi-Cal. So often when someone has Medi-Cal, they'll say I have LA Care. When I hear LA Care, I automatically know that they have Medi-Cal. Can you see the slides?
I can. It could be my Zoom, but I can't see it.
You have to tap it and make it bigger.
Oh, they only see the sticker. Okay, hold on.
Okay, good. Now, if you don't have Medi-Cal, you have choices for Medicare, and these are just some of the choices that you might have. Now, this is what I caution everyone to do. If you are on Medicare and you have a prescription drug plan, which you should have, whether you take a lot of medications or not, I encourage you to look at the formulary for this year. Why? It's because there's been changes to the Part D benefit. Through the hard work of this existing regime in DC, it's called the Inflation Reduction Act. It helps seniors with their prescription drugs. What it's saying is that as a beneficiary, you should pay no more than $2,000 for the cost of your medication. Okay. For some people who only take, I call them penny drugs, what are you talking about? No, but if someone who takes Xarelto, Guardian, They understand what this means. Those drugs retail for over $500 for a 30-day supply.
I know.
So historically, they have been 4 stages to the prescription drug plan. Deductible, initial, donut hole. The donut hole is not sweet, it's bitter. Because when a person is in the donut hole, they pay much more for their medication, okay? And then once they hit, this year, it is $5,050, they move to catastrophic, okay? Next year, when that happens, there's no longer the donut hole. So if your medication hits $2,000, you move to catastrophic, you pay nothing, okay? So I'm sharing people, but what happens is when you fall into catastrophic, although you pay nothing, the insurance company is now on the hook. So what they're doing is they could be watering down the formulary. You want to make sure your medication is still there because they could offer you something differently, or you have to look for a plan that covers that particular drug. Okay, so a lot of people think this is same old, same old. I'm telling people it may change, it may not. But the fact of the matter is, when you cap your personal expense at $2,000, it makes a difference. Example, I spoke to someone who is looking to change plans. He takes a medication, one medication that costs $10,000. Now that sounds pretty, but it costs $10,000. So the first time he gets that medication filled next year in January, he's gonna hit $2,000. So when that happens, the plans have an opportunity for you to finance that $2,000 for 12 months. It's called the NP3 plan, okay? And they should offer it to you. It's not based upon your FICO or anything. It's just that you need to have that medication. And because of that law that has been passed, you can get it financed. Now, when he gets the second fill, which will be February, he's not gonna pay anything for his medication because he's hit his $2,000, okay? So I encourage all of you, get a list of your medications, make sure it's covered, okay? Next one. And guess what? That's it.
Thank you.
If you have, if your spouse was in the, of government and didn't pay into Social Security, but you paid into Social Security, is your Social Security impacted? Do you get all of your Social Security?
Okay, let me parse this out. So your spouse worked in government,
Yeah.
okay? And then you, private industry, okay? Because it's based upon, you're getting your own social, it's not your spouse social. Yeah, you're not impacted, okay? Because I'm gonna be a little sad. So my husband, he worked 30 years in private industry, and then he went into a governmental agency and for about 10, 11 years, and they have a pension. He's selfish. I said, now, how's that going to impact me? Okay. First of all, he was not governed by it because he had 30 years in private industry. So he got both of them, okay? As the recipient, I get both because my Social Security is my Social Security. So I'm not tethered to him for his Social Security, for spousal. See, it's the spousal that is impacted by GPO. So you're good. You start thinking about me. So my question is, what happens to the social security of all those people who died prematurely? Don't they go in the farm? Yes. Yes, you know what? A lot of people dying prematurely. You're right, this is morbid, but sometimes when you're in the graveyard, you look at headstones and you start thinking about that person laying there and you say, wow, they didn't even collect social security, they paid into it. It stays in the trust fund. You cannot will social security. What happens is you can have a husband and a wife, okay? If one of the two make more money, when that person passes, you can take the higher of the two and you lose it. So social security, I always call it's like rolling a dice. If you live long, you win. If you die, they win. And this incentive to make people wait until age 70 and get 8% more per year, well, they're hoping you die. Yeah. Just being honest, yeah. Yeah.
My mother drew her social security at 62. I mean, if she was alive, she'd be 102. And so she had a friend and she said, oh, she was gonna wait till she was 65. And my mother was like, girl, we're not guaranteed to 65. That lady drew her social security for 1 year. She drew it at 62. She had a heart attack standing in line at the bank. And because they're like the great generation, it was better for them to draw it at 62 because their lifespan was less, but baby boomers, I mean, I drew mine early, but they're saying the baby boomers, that they should wait because we're living longer. Is that correct? Yeah. And there's less people paying into it because we have less kids than our parents have.
It depends on your state of health. If someone knows that they have an illness that could take them out sooner than later, take your social security. Okay, but if you're in good health and you feel that you can, roll the dice, you can win, but there's what they call a break-even period. Okay, it's gonna take you a number of years to recoup and then go beyond that. But someone who has longevity in their family, when I speak to someone, I always ask, is your parents alive? If not, what age did they pass? What about your grandparents? So I know, and it may not happen to me, both of my grandmothers died in their 90s, okay? My mother is 90 right now. So, if the rules apply, I could say that I'll make it to 90 years old. And so maybe rolling that dice and say, okay, I'll delay it. Okay. But if someone said, and I had this one gentleman said, no men in my family live past 65. And he was 61 at the time. He said, I'm going to collect my social security. I said, you can be, how you going to do that? He did. He died. He died at 64. Yeah. So genetics plays a lot in the decision.
That great generation, it was smart for them,
Like I said, this generation, because their lifetime, I mean, my mother would be 98, so she definitely was not part of, but I'm saying most people in the great generation don't live to be 98. And she drew hers at 60.
Now, I'm gonna throw this out, and I really, please forgive me. You have a lot of older men who marry younger women, and they have babies. When I see that, I say, then Social Security babies. Because when they start collecting Social Security, then babies get Social Security. And you look, and that's bad.
My girlfriend, she married an older, her kids, and it helped pay for their college.
Social Security. Love the government.
Yeah.
So, and all of that goes into when a person, because sometimes in that case, they tell the person, you got them babies. It might be better if you collect now because each baby get a certain dollar amount up to what the household family, there's a formula that you use. And sometimes it's to their advantage.
She even got a check.
Yeah.
He was older than her dad.
But when they turn 18 or out of high school, it stops.
But back in the day, if your parent was deceased, you got Social Security, and if you went to college, you were like 22.
So they changed it.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Yeah, it was unfair.
Are there any questions online? Oh, Mr. Dixon has a question. Go ahead, Mr. Dixon, come off mute.
Give me a second.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a particular situation. My wife Barbara was diagnosed with dementia in August of 2020, confirmed in May of this year as Alzheimer's. She worked for 30 years with Southern California Gas Company. She has a pension. She was previously married. She has a pension from her ex-husband. I have a pension. I'm a veteran also. Long story short, got her qualified for Medi-Cal successfully. And we just had the renewal in September of this year. But because our income is above their limits, there is now a share cost. And the initial share cost was $7,714 per month. Yes, I know it's ridiculous, but we were able to utilize the spousal empowerment waiver, and it brought it down to $3,449 per month. Still, it stretches our budget quite a bit. And right in the middle of having this tug of war between Medi-Cal and in-home supportive services. I've spoken with, a legal services Zedek. They are a Jewish nonprofit. They've given me some information, but I also understand that there are some potential ways that I can satisfy that share of costs. Because bottom line is, I don't have that many money trees left. Luckily there's still a few leaves left on that tree. But we'll probably need to speak with you offline, to address this issue. But it does happen. We're fortunate that, yes, my wife Barbara did qualify and has been awarded, Medi-Cal. But, we're faced with a situation whereby we're gonna have to pay out quite a bit, out of pocket, just to make sure that, we can have caregivers come in to take care of her. Compounded by that, I have a 94-year-old mother who also was diagnosed with dementia about a little bit over 2.5 years ago. And I just got a phone call that, she may be transitioning very soon, and I'm going to have to hop on a plane and head to San Antonio, Texas, like within the next, or as soon as possible.
If I might just ask you this question, do you know if you're going to be impacted by the Medicaid Recovery Act?
That I do not know. We do not, haven't been able to finish with all of our estate planning. We do have the advance directive, haven't had the opportunity to, meet with the attorneys and get, the rest of the estate plan, put in place.
I would just caution you just to ask them that question.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I'm gonna have to keep juggling the ball. And as my good sister Sharon, I spoke with her this morning. She told me, keep my head up, do what I got to do. Mom needs me right now, so I will need to be on a plane to San Antonio as soon as possible. But I can't, drop the ball and make sure that my wife doesn't or loses her eligibility for Medicare and also in-home supportive services.
Are there any other questions, from the people on the Zoom?
No, not right now.
Okay, then, thank you. Questions and comments? With regards to the award letter, I would like to suggest something that I've been doing for a number of years. And if you're not, uh, versed in the computers, I'm gonna ask, Kim Cyrus to get someone possibly for another assignment. But what I do, I have on my computer, and I'm not all that computer savvy, I have a file, my file folders. You can put those on there. And I would suggest that you, like, for the file folder, you can make a folder, 2024 Social Security Award Letter. And when you get it, you scan it and you pop it in there. And then you have it and can print it out just standing in the line, looking for it. One of your prayers should be, you want to be effective, you want to be efficient, and you want to be gracious. Now, for our seniors who may not be versed with computers, like, I don't want, well, I am gonna use y'all as an example, I don't know, Ken, you pretty good with it?
No.
Okay, so what we need is, I would like for Kim to get someone or a team, we've gotta help them. So you can trust Kim, you can, trust her to get some of them young people at our church and put them to work. But she's trustworthy, okay? I'm not gonna be able to do it because I'm having my own challenges, health-wise. So now the other thing is, now this is the thing. We talked about this years ago. Someone wanted to know about, what about that money that, someone dies and they leave it, or they're not married, or they die early. But anyway, this is what I would like to see done. You mentioned how the legislators they're very powerful. Why can't, because we always said our late brother, he passed away. And he didn't even get to collect his, and we always said, oh, wow, if we could have got his Social Security, that could have went to Mom. So I would like some folks, nice militant folks that know how to fight, to see, and I will see if I can, I can try to see if we can get Congresswoman Waters here. See how we can get that money. And then if I go, I would like, and I'm a cat lady. I ain't got a cat, but I'm single. But I would like for my Social Security, since I don't have children, I have 2 nieces. If it could be divided, or something for them. We don't know that. Please don't say that. Please don't. No. Please don't say that, because I know what my faith has done. And right now, I'm in a situation where negativity really frustrates me. Don't say it, please. Okay. We have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. Okay, so I like to see that.
We have a question up here, Sister.
Take it and I'll come back.
Okay.
2 quick questions. The first one is a little jumbled. You said in 2035 that, something about this trust fund will run out. And that they're gonna come up with a different plan or something, and, you said
because you were born before 1960, that the cuts will not affect you. And something about 80%, I was writing notes really fast.
Okay, let me just say this. The trust fund, the social. Sorry.
The Social Security Trust Fund, it's kind of like the reserves in Social Security is going to run out in 2034, 35. That's barring any changes that could occur, okay? It could be quicker, like if they put the whip in the GPO, they have to factor in. Or if they stop collecting on tips and overtime, all that is going to, because I was been reading on, it could run out sooner. But basically, when that happens, what they're saying is Social Security will be there, but the amount that they're going to pay out to the beneficiary is going to be reduced anywhere from 20 to 30%. And what I'm saying, and this is my opinion, if you're collecting it now to tell someone you're going to be reduced, they can put strategies in place that people who are not going to collect Social Security for 20, 30 years, the changes is going to be on them. And if they sit idly by, it's going to happen. Okay, because we got a lot of apathy out there. They just don't get involved. So my other question was, you said people who make over 160,000 don't have to pay into Social Security. It stops after they stop. Okay, so it caps. Okay, so because it caps, they from that point they don't pay into it, but they'll still collect it. My question to you is that 160,000 net or gross? It's gross. It's gross. So let's say, for instance, I make $200,000 a year. During the year, once my year-to-date hit that dollar amount, there's no more deductions for Social Security. Medicare continues, but so they pocket a little bit more money because that tax isn't coming out.
Denise, and this may be our last question. We're coming up on our time. I do want the people online to know that I put Ms. Varnessa's information in the chat, her name and phone number. For those of you in the room, it was on the screen, but I can put it on the board as well if anybody needs. Oh, well, she's here. You can just come on up and get it from her. Oh, and it's on the paper. Thank you. Denise, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Kim. Always foreverly grateful and humble for acts. Thank you, Jeannie and Sharon. This is priceless information. And what I wanted to find out is in terms of the 160,000 gross, is that per person, or if you're coupled, does it include both couples or just one person individually?
It's per person because the employer dictates that. The payroll department, once it's determined that YTD, which is the year-to-date earnings, hit that tax is then suspended. So you can have a family, each individual that's earning that dollar amount higher, they will both get that holiday until the end of the year. It will resume back until January of the following year.
Thank you.
Ms. Varnessa, actually, I have the last question. You didn't say how much the COLA is for Social Security for 2025.
2.5%.
Okay.
2.5%.
I always go home from this meeting, tell my dad. Okay, thank you. All right.
I got one more.
Darlene is.
So $160,000, it doesn't matter if you're self-employed or if you work for someone.
Well, when you're self-employed, you probably won't. It's the way you do your records, but it does apply to you too.
All right, I'm gonna cut it off. But if you're in the room, absolutely, you can come up and talk with Ms. Varnessa. She'll be here until nobody else comes up and talks to her. If you're online, her name and phone number is in the chat. I do want to thank everyone for being here today and being online. I want to mention that Axe does have incontinent products for anybody who needs them. They are free of charge. All you need to do is just let us know. Our phone number is 323-296-2975. There is normally someone here on Mondays and Fridays from 9 to 5 for you to be able to pick up products. However, if that time doesn't work for you, we are absolutely flexible. You just need to call that number, 323-296-2975. We also have a hospital bed, so if you need to know somebody in need of that hospital bed. Again, all resources are free of charge through ACT. Any last parting, anything from anybody? Online as well. Okay, we are gonna pray. For those of you in the room, you're welcome to stay for lunch. We have lunch in the back. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this time that you've allowed us to spend together. We thank you for Ms. Varnessa and for her time today and for how she prepared and was able to answer questions for all those in the room. I thank you for every caregiver, and I pray, Lord, that you would just continue to give them what they need for the journey. It's not always easy, but thank you, Lord, that they have a heart to care for their loved ones. We do lift up Mr. Dixon to you. We pray for traveling grace as he goes to see his mom. We pray, Lord, that you would keep her until he gets there, that he'd be able to see her one more time on this side of glory. We also pray for the resources for him to be able to continue to have in-home care for his wife. I pray that for all of the caregivers, Lord, that you would just provide the resources, the finances, the patience, the help that they need. And we just thank you again for Sharon and Jeannie, for the vision, for how you are using ACTS in the community and beyond. I do pray, Lord, even for their health, that you would keep them in good health and give them many more good days, Heavenly Father. I thank you for them in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Bye, everybody. Until next month.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.